Hello, Aries, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of August 2nd through August 8th. And during that time, we first have the waning gibbous moon. And a waning gibbous is about self-reflection and rebirth, a good time for us to make positive changes and work on those things that we've been working on so that we can have the potential to grow. We're also going to work on getting rid of bad habits and negative thinking. We then have our little interrupter that comes in. It's the third quarter moon, and it's just a time when things are starting to come to fruition. So you're kind of pushing, getting things done, and it is a good time for inward reflection, and really attain our full potential on the things that we've been working on in this cycle. It's also a really good time to start to do that evaluation, like what's been working, what's not working, and we're going to start to kind of think about what's going to happen when that new moon approaches. So please keep those moon energies in mind as we move through the week. This will be an intuitive general reading for energies that you may or may not encounter. So as always, Aries, please take what resonates and leave what doesn't here on the table for someone else. And your overall message for this reading is the energy is gaining momentum. All right, let's see what the Aries Collective has going on here. As I'm shuffling the tarot, my fun weekly reminder for you this week is that you try to notice the world around you when it comes to synchronicity. So this could be just synchronistic happenings, someone that you run into that you were thinking of, or they call you, you were just thinking about them, or they shoot you a text, that sort of thing. Could be an animal that you run into, or repeating number patterns. It could be a song that you overhear, or a conversation that has some relevance to your own personal life or a situation that you're in right now. So just kind of be a little bit more attuned and aware to the universe and pay attention. And those are the little breadcrumbs that are unique to you on your path. So just pay attention to those synchronicities. And that's my fun weekly reminder for you. All right, let's get into this reading. Aries, August 2nd through August 8th. The energy is gaining momentum. Your overall present energy right now is the Empress, which I love this card for energy. It is, she is our creative mother in the deck. All is well in her garden. Water is flowing, plants are growing, things are just awesome. She might even have a baby going on in there. So if that's something you're being careful about, heads up, because she's the card of that motherly energy, but she's also the card of doing things long term. So she would, any plants or trees that she's planted, she wants to watch them grow for the next 18 to 20 years, much like you would a child, or any projects that she might enter into, same deal. She's going to do things for the long term. So that is your current energy right now. Your current situation is the Page of Swords. So while you're in this energy, you're also having a new way of communication. Speaking of communicating, I hear my cat calling. I hear him. I don't think he knows I'm in here. Hold on just a second. Nope. Kitty. Kitty, kitty. Right here. Kitty. Hey, I'm right here. Do you want to come in with me? Our cat is getting a little older, and we think he's a little confused. Right, Kitty? So when he can't find me, it's like, where did everyone go? But I'm right here. So he can hang out while we're doing readings. Anyway, Page of Swords, your current situation is that you're finding a new way to communicate. And these could be new ideas or just air energy. So it's new paths in the way of communication or thoughts. So kind of a new way of thinking. So this could be that you're getting rid of the bad habits, like I said, and negative thinking, which is kind of the moon energy that we're in. And this would be you replacing those things with a positive thing, maybe a positive affirmation that you're going to say to yourself every day, that sort of thing. At the root of your situation is the High Priestess, which I really love. And maybe your new way of communicating is really listening to your intuition and like I said, noticing the universe around you. The High Priestess is really about those mysterious things, those things that come up, or those little signs that you see. And at the root of this is for you to really pay attention to those things. And like I was saying in my reminder this week, is to notice those things around you. Once you see that world that's communicating with you, You just can't unsee it. So try to pay attention again to a little bit of that this week. In your recent past is the King of Swords. So, so if we're moving from the king, which is very logical, very knowledgeable, very also about thought and communication, but very logical. And it's like the page is like a new way. So maybe you've had some old way of thinking that you are trying to dispel, get rid of. It might be something that where you've learned something and you thought, I'm going to be a little bit more positive. But we're moving from that king energy where kind of like a thing, and you had an interrupter there where you're kind of knocked back, like, oh, maybe I didn't know as much as I thought. So let me get on this other track with this page, right? What's on your mind this week is the Ace of Swords. So it could be some sort of aha moment that you've had, or some new thought, some new idea, some kind of breakthrough that you have recently had. So very interesting when it comes to these swords and how they're lining up. So, and again, this is kind of like one way of thinking, and you thought it was very logical, and that's fine. And then you've learned a thing. And it could be that maybe motherhood has changed you. You've had some sort of aha moment, or something entering into a long term creative project has changed you in a way that you're having some sort of breakthrough, but it is making you communicate things in a new manner. What is just ahead of you this week is, there you go, hard at work on something. So you're going to buckle right down and get to it there with the Eight of Pentacles. So, there is some sort of energy, and I feel like it comes from this idea that's come to you, this breakthrough that you've had. And it's like, oh, well, now I want to get to work on it. And it could be, the Empress, again, she's creative long term energy. And so I'm going to use the example of, let's use the example of just your house. You loved the way your living room, you love the paint color in your living room, right? And all of a sudden you had this bright creative idea that I want a different color. And maybe you've learned something that a certain color can make you feel more mentally at ease. And maybe the color that you have now is not in that color, like you've learned something about color. So you decide to go ahead and get to work. And this is kind of an intuitive thing. Like I feel this intuitively, this information that has come to me about colors and about how to surround myself with colors and what that might do to change, my well-being, has made me want to get to work to do this. So of course I'm using this as an example, but this is you being new, thinking, oh, this new color is the way to go. Right. So I know that's very simplified, but remember that tarot is energy. So imagine that template over the situation that you're currently in. But whatever it is, you are quickly this week hard at work getting it started and getting buckled down to work on it. What is in your advice position is to think your way out of something, to think your way out of a position. And it could be, again, that you were stuck in some old way of thinking and you're trying you've had this mental breakthrough and you're really trying to have this new way of thinking, but it's hard. So just keep at it. If you can find, remember that you can think your way out of anything and you can change your thoughts also with repetition. I always tell people to leave little post-it notes or notes to yourself about positive affirmations if you're trying to change your way of thinking. So remember that you can do that even if you feel like, oh, I'm stuck, I'm never going to get out of this way of thinking. Just remember that you can, and find the little tricks and tips to do those things to remind you to remember that we're going to think in a different way, right? What is beyond your control this week? Is, yeah, you're going to celebrate this. Whatever this is, you're going to be happy about it. And it could be even that there's, people involved. You might tell your partner, you might just have a little celebration and happiness that you've had this little mental breakthrough and that you're trying to be more positive. It could just be also that there is some sort of celebration that you have to attend this week, and maybe your attitude's better about it. So you'll be fine when you get there, right? What is your secret desire, or what are you trying to avoid? Of course, you're trying to avoid anxiety, which is the Nine of Swords here. So I doubt if it's your secret desire to have sleepless nights and some anxious feelings. So make sure that you're doing those things to kind of quell it. Remember that you can think your way out of anything so that we don't have those sleepless nights. And if you do, get up and journal, get up and do something. I've had a little bit of insomnia myself lately, and I don't really have anything specific on my mind that's giving me anxiety. I'm just wide awake. So, and it's hard to get up and find, what are you supposed to do? Get up and be productive. I feel like that'll wake me up even more, but sometimes I do that. I just give into it and I'm like, well, I'm up, I might as well do something. So, but if you are having anxiety, it is good to kind of journal before you go to bed and lay down and get those things off of your mind. Even maybe do a meditation before you go to sleep, just to kind of calm your nerves and calm your thoughts, really. In your outcome this week, Lots of choices here with the Seven of Cups. So lots of choices to make. And of course, I use this example, which is kind of silly, about painting your living room, but it is that. It is that you're going to have lots of choices to make, and imagine that. So now, and I've just recently done this, you go to the paint store and you see all the colors, and it's overwhelming. And it's like, oh, well, I was going to do green, but I didn't know there were 87 greens, right? So which one is it? Which one works? But you've got all those choices. So when you have this bright idea and you're buckling down your hard, you want to get to work on it, but you've got to get those choices made, and don't let it keep you up at night. Whatever those choices are, again, start to make pros and cons and just kind of work through that entire situation. What is hidden from you here at the bottom of the deck is the star card. So you're not quite on your direction yet, and you're going to get there. I think when you fine tune, again, when you can narrow these thoughts down and try to get yourself better into this new way of thinking that you've chosen for yourself, the choices become easier. This anxiety quells. You're going to know that you can think your way through anything. So I think that's pretty awesome. And depending on whatever that situation is, the energy again is gaining momentum. So I think, by the end of the week, you are starting to make the choices and get the work done. All right, let's get you a final message here from the Soul Oracle deck. Final message for Aries as they work through this new idea. Take a step back. Okay, so that's never bad advice. Take a step back and just kind of look and evaluate. And remember that even though you're ready to buckle down, you do have some choices to make. And sometimes it is best to just take that breath, calm down, take a step back, make sure you know where you are and exactly what it is that you need to accomplish right now. All right, let's get you a self-care wisdom card to see what you need to do in the way of self-care this week. Self-care for Aries this week. And the card that you get says to speak up. If you avoid conflict to keep the peace, you start a war inside yourself. I don't even see, the only place I see other people, even in your reading here, is with this Four of Wands. And it could be, like I said, that you need to speak up and maybe just talk to this about a friend. Like I said, you might be at some social gathering, you and your partner or friends. You make sure that you're talking to someone about what it is that you're going through. Bounce this off somebody. And not that they need to have any huge decision making bearing on anything, but sometimes it is just good to toss things around, especially if it's something that's giving you some anxiety. And sometimes when you do that, maybe the universe is intuitively putting you with this person to give you some answer that you need. And that's just how things work. So, Aries, good luck with all of this. I do hope there's something in this reading that you can take away and use in a positive way this week. Grabbing a drink there. My throat was starting to get a little dry on me, and that's that speak up. Make sure that anytime my throat does this during a reading, you do need to speak about this. That's just the message that comes through. But anyway, if you are comfortable sharing, drop me a comment down below. Let me know if you had some new idea that you were kind of anxious about doing and making decisions about this week. Also, if you like my reading style, hitting like and subscribe is really kind of you. I appreciate that so much. My channel's starting to grow a lot, and I really appreciate everyone who comes back to see the readings every week. So I really love doing it, and I appreciate you coming to see what I have to say and what the readings are each week. So thank you so much, Aries. Good luck with this, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.